Friday's surprise meeting between President Uhuru Kenyatta and NASA leader Raila Odinga has been cheered as the perfect remedy for political tensions and economic sluggishness afflicting the country. But the deal has also touched off murmurs from those who feel it would have benefited from more openness and structural engagement of coalitions rather than just the two main presidential candidates, that is in the last elections. So what are the implications of the Uhuru-Raila pact and what does it portend for other key political figures? Let's sample your feedback as we go on now. What you're saying, this is our SMS platform, 22422, and you can keep texting, by the way. Martin Dea in Mombasa says, dialogue is the best way to cool the high temperatures being witnessed in the political scene. It must be done with utmost sincerity, trust, and a lot of sobriety. Silas Nyambok in Kitengela, the only sign of unity I'll believe in is to watch Uhuru hugging Miguna. Anything else is the usual choreography before we start hearing of dishonored pledges. Okay. Moru wa Nyambura in Kikuyu says, Mudavadi, Weta and Kalonzo have always followed Agwambo, that is Raila, blindly. Have the scales suddenly fallen off their eyes? Let's see if any one of them is man enough to chart their own course. And yeah, we read this from Martin Dea in Mombasa. Let's take a look at your tweets now. You can keep texting us. 22422 is the SMS number. On Twitter is the hashtag Sunday Live. Being Charlie says the Uhuru-Raila pact is a clear indicator that Kenyatta, Odinga and Moi networks will ultimately decide the 2022 presidency. Okay. Godi Barazawere, we should shame any other political parties, not an individual leader or an individual leader who opposes the unity of Raila and Uhuru. And John says, the pact is timely since the country was headed in the wrong direction in an irreconcilable manner. It still remains to be seen what the political implications will be once details of the arrangement are made public. Interesting times ahead. Keep talking to us. 22422 text us using the hashtag, text us, and on Twitter use the hashtag Sunday Live. In studio now, MPs, long time since we had them, MPs Homa Bay Town, Peter Kaluma and Dan Manzo, MP Makweni. Thank you both for making time for us. Of course, you'll also know that Honorable Kaluma is an ODM MP in the NASA family, and Wipers Dan Manzo. Well, thank you both for making time for us. I'll ask you first what you make of the Kenyatta-Odinga meeting and the resolve to work together. But first, there's a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. We just reported a meeting between the other NASA principals, Kalonzo, Wetangula, and representatives of Mudavadi that happened earlier this evening. I don't know if you've been able to attend that meeting or you know what happened from that meeting. Plus, is tomorrow's meeting going to happen?
Well, yeah, the meeting is still ongoing. I'm aware of it. And tomorrow's meeting is still scheduled. And the main idea of those meetings is for NASA to build consensus. And together with whatever other information they will release tomorrow, I'm sure there will be a joint statement so that we can know the way forward.
Honorable Peter Kaluma, has Raila Odinga or is Raila Odinga going to attend this meeting?
Hussein, thank you for inviting me to come. I said I would not be in the media since August elections. And I know this is the first time the people of Kenya are seeing me in the media. So let me thank citizens for allowing me to come in. The meeting which took place last Friday was between His Excellency Raila Odinga and His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. What is naturally expected is that having spoken as the topmost leadership of their party and the coalition, they would now have meetings to brief. For President Uhuru Kenyatta, his Jubilee leadership. You remember not even the Deputy President William Ruto attended the meeting of Friday.
Right. For
Raila Odinga, it is both his colleagues, the co-principals at NASA, and later on Tuesday, the ODM team. Raila's would go a bit, wider because ours is a coalition. And let me clarify that the meeting that was taking place this evening and the meeting scheduled for tomorrow and for Tuesday were scheduled well before the meeting between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. They are going to be largely meetings, more so the meeting for tomorrow and the meeting that I think Raila would be having with the ODM family on Tuesday would be meetings to, bring the coalition colleagues abreast with this leadership, position they have taken, and of course seek the partnership that both Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga spoke to.
So the meeting tomorrow is on?
Yeah, the meeting should be on.
Right, your parties within NASA have all issued statements and contrasting statements, rather, about what happened. Some openly actually showing their displeasure. I'm going to take a listen now to what has been said over the last 2 days.
The meeting was between two individuals. It does not bear the imprint of NASA summit as it ought to be. Because NASA is not about an individual or even the summit. NASA is an idea owned by Kenyans which will survive and outlive any one individual. In the aftermath of the MOU, the NASA summit will do a thorough audit of the MOU and undertake soul searching on whether Kenyans were taken for a ride or not by this MOU.
Mimi najihisi niko na amani kubwa kabisa kwa roho yangu. Kwa sababu what you have been saying, watu waketi waongee, that is exactly what is going to happen.
As Weta and the leader of Ford Kenya and Senate Minority Leader was not in the know, if that is the answer you want. But I want to add that all along we have been demanding for dialogue.
I have been in ODM and I have worked with Raila Odinga for many years. And Raila Odinga is a man who can be described as a nationalist. That when the time comes between his personal or party interest and that of the nation, Raila Odinga, I know, will go for the interest of the 45 million Kenyans. So it's a good day, it's a good day.
Right, and we actually saw on Friday that evening, Moses Wetangula, Kalonzo Musyoka and Mudavadi through a statement said, well, we have always advocated for dialogue as core principles of the NASA coalition. We were not privy to the discussions at Harambee House. So I'll ask you, Honorable Manzo, yes, and Kaluma, but I'll start with you, Manzo. Yes. Because it has been said, some white MPs have been speaking and are not happy with what happened. First, what do you make of what happened? Are you satisfied with what happened?
First and foremost, after the two presidential elections, it was clear that Kenyans were divided into two halves. And the country was not getting far in that situation. You remember even when the Honorable His Excellency Raila Odinga was coming back from abroad and we were unable to attend a rally in Uhuru Park. I found it very unfair on part of government. But now, when we dialogue and the two leaders come together, you are going to bring Kenyans together. Most important are electoral reforms and most important are constitutional amendments so that whatever they agree or whatever is dialogue is structured and we are able to move forward as a nation. Everyone welcomes this move so that the country is peaceful and we be in a situation whereby we can discuss. Because unless you whip, the two leaders whip their two sides of parliament, then whatever has to go through parliament becomes very difficult. But now with these sort of talks and the agreements I've seen and the dialogue expected, then once Kenya's dialogue, then we'll be able to put forward our country. And I can assure you, other than the interests of our leaders, the international community has been very concerned with what is happening in Kenya because Kenya is very important in the world. Right.
So with a section of, you don't reason the way a section of white MPs we saw yesterday saying they feel betrayed by what happened, that they should have been consulted before this happened.
I believe if consultations were done before this happened on both sides, whether Jubilee or NASA, it may have taken a longer while.
It may have taken a longer time.
It may have taken a longer time. And you can see Kenya was also expecting a very important visitor from United States of America. And coincidentally, this happened just before this visitor came in. And I believe many Kenyans are happy with it, but we are yet to see the structures because we don't want a situation whereby this becomes betrayal again. We want it to be true, and the only way it can be true, Parliament has to prepare the country for referendum because the constitutional changes be sought to make this a reality have to be through a referendum. Okay. Most probably we'll do a referendum, at the same time maybe bring a new government.
So the problem with Kenyans is that we comment before we read. In fact, we have a very poor reading culture. And let me tell you, even on my part, this came by surprise in terms of time and manner. But knowing Raila as a person who would always put his interest for the larger national good, this is something I expected to happen. I took the time this afternoon to read the memorandum signed by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta and His Excellency Raila Odinga. And I think this is why I would say our principal, Bwana Musalia Mudavadi, went ahead. I don't think he had read the statement or the memorandum between signed by these top leaders before he addressed the media. What Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta say in the memorandum is that they are only undertaking an initiative. They are initiating. They are requesting for the partnership of all Kenyans. Of course, they are initiative as two individuals, initiating as two individuals, but they are saying they need the support of all Kenyans, of course, to achieve those bigger goals that they have set to achieve, to be remembered for by this country. The other thing that, most people have not looked at are the issues as defined. I can tell you, saying my reading through the memorandum left me with a conclusion as a leader that these people have spoken to the heart of the nation. And as a future or ongoing leader, you just want to play your part in this, process, or you'll find yourself under the bus somewhere.
Mudavadi said, you're talking about his statement, saying why are Kenyans who have been calling for dialogue baffled? He says it's because the MOU is not anchored nor underwritten by any known institutional framework. Neither does it succinctly capture the nagging issues NASA contained in the NASA National Dialogue Agenda, for which many have died and others maimed in recent past.
That is why I was saying it is possible that he was speaking based on what was. So you think
the statement of action by Kenyatta and Raila captured everything?
It's so deep. It captures everything we would bargain for.
Do you think so as well?
I've looked through. It has captured most of the issues, though broadly. It's not gone into some of the serious details, like what happened during the election. Families lost their loved ones. What is a way of compensating those families? And there was a way forward of making sure this will never happen again in our country, so that people do not die in a cause and then there is no compensation, because it is a matter which must be raised. We must know what the total number of people who lost their lives in this. There was a lot of negligence on the part of government, and maybe you could also blame partly NASA. So now that they are talking, they must not just address the national issues alone. We must address the affected families. People lost innocent children. They're still wondering what has happened. Somebody must give an explanation to that particular parent. And those who have been maimed or injured, proper medication should be done to them. So while we reconcile the nation, we must take care of all details, and we must make sure this is for the future of the nation, prosperity, and we must have a structure where executive and the governance of this country is inclusive. That has also been covered in the memorandum.
Yeah, I saw that in the memorandum. In fact, what next then, as we wind up, what next then in terms of what kind of engagement will we see between Kenyatta and Odinga, or NASA, depending on how tomorrow's meeting pans out, or what will be Odinga's role? This is why, because he's in the statement of action with the two leaders, is jointly with Kenyatta effectively handling matters of development, corruption, safety and security, divisive elections, devolution, inclusivity, lack of national ethos was also there, shared prosperity, responsibilities and rights. Some of these functions are specifically government functions. So what does this mean to you, or what role will you be playing?
Well, first of all, I want to say that right now we have a constitution in this country, we have laws. We may have to improve part of the constitution or part of the laws to achieve inclusivity, especially in governance. And they have not formed a government of national unity. What is we are in the parliament under the current law, you have majority and minority. Is Junet and the Honorable Bandi going to cross and sit on Jubilee side on Tuesday? There are very many issues. So what have we formed really? What have we dialogued? What are the details? So for this to be achieved properly, we must, the country must be reorganized itself quickly into reforms. There is already a budget proposal in place. This is very expensive. There must be arrangements on how to fund it, especially if we are going to have a referendum. And if we're going to have a referendum on certain issues, probably that same referendum will have an agreement and a law passed whereby a new government is going to be formed through that referendum and through that election. Otherwise, whatever we are doing is very good for a chat.
Practically.
Yeah, but when you talk, suppose things go wrong somewhere, what do you go back to? There must be a legal basis on which these things are done.
Hussein, this is a document of good faith, one signed between President Kenyatta and His Excellency Raila Odinga. And they have given a commitment, they have put their hands to it. At the end of it, you see a secretariat sort of being formed. There is the possibility of expansion spoken to there, because it is called a program and it will be officially launched. And they are saying those issues they are dealing with are program-based issues. I want to assure Kenyans who have cared to read the document that a lot of the things bedeviling our country can be dealt with without changes to the law. So things like inclusivity, I want to assure you some people will lose their jobs, some people will go in the commitment I've seen. These
to make
two
the
great
government
letters,
more inclusive.
correct. They have spoken to it passionately. So some people.
Let me just ask a direct question there.
Correct.
What you're telling me is that some people will lose jobs, some will go in because now there has to be some balance with NASA supporters as well?
Yeah, certainly. Remember, we are not talking about opposition and government. This is a presidential system. And that is to disabuse Manso's thinking.
I said majority and minority.
Yes, there is minority and majority, but we are in government as we sit here. That is fact.
You are in government.
I'm in government as a member of parliament.
That is why. I mean, you're at liberty to.
This is what.
That is why I asked this specific question.
Yeah.
Because when I asked this question, I mean, looking at that statement and having read everything in that statement. By Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yes.
And all those issues of corruption, development, safety and security, divisive elections, most of these things are government functions.
Yes.
So what role are you going to play? Yesterday, we had Honorable Duale say very clearly, yesterday or Friday, that you will work together, still, Jubilee as a ruling party,
yes,
and you as the opposition.
Yes.
You're saying you'll be in government?
Let me tell you, not we will be in government. And this is the thing about civic literacy we should be engaging in. You know, in a presidential system, there is no opposition. Actually, as a member of parliament, I'm in the legislative arm of government full-time. What we are going to do together now is to question in terms of our national software. How come we have a constitution talking about inclusivity, talking about the face of Kenya, yet you have sections of this society saying they have been thinned out, public service? How come we are talking about national resources being equitably applied, but some parts of the country are not having it? That is why I'm telling you, there are some which can be acted upon as direct programs. There are some which will merely require budgetary allocations and directing them to particular regions which have been marginalized. Like we can make a deliberate affirmative action resolution by dint of this commitment of the leaders. That really those areas which have been saying the budget has been a bit skewed in terms of its distribution. We are in the budgeting season now. Give Northeastern the roads they have been crying for. Give Coast whatever they have been seeking. Spread the national cake equitably. And there is already law for that. Those which will require legislative intervention or even constitutional amendments will be a major work at Parliament. And you must have seen how Honorable Duale is speaking about Raila today. It means that the shackles which chained us to be partisan in Parliament have been broken. We can now look at issues objectively within the roadmap, presented by these great leaders. And this is what we are going to do. And
you don't foresee any confusion?
Any leader.
If there's a government policy to deal with something a certain way, and you, I mean, I'm yet to see what this structure will be. But in this structure, NASA or Raila Odinga or Manzo and the rest in NASA decide it should be done this way. There could be some conflict, isn't it? So will your role be advisory, executive? What do you think your role should be?
Let me tell you, as a member of parliament, the things that would hold me back only to think as ODM member, that chain has been broken. I want, on the context of those issues identified by President Uhuru and His Excellency Raila, think as a person elected to represent the people of Kenya from the side of Homa Bay town. And that is what is going to happen. I know, and I've been in politics long enough, Hussein, to know what His Excellency Raila Odinga says, lightly, and what Uhuru does not mean. I also know, having read through this statement, that for this one in particular, Hussein, whether you are in Jubilee or in NASA, you would find yourself under the bus if you don't assist these two great leaders implement it.
Okay, finally, man.
Yes, first of all, I've looked at that document, and as a lawyer, it has a lot of questions. It's actually a document of utmost good faith. And, you know, it's not even witnessed. It has purported to set up some structures, which are all structures of goodwill. It is perfectly within the Constitution, but the implementer is the current executive, who has been implementing things for the last 6 years or so. So we unless there is goodwill, and there is also a possibility of the same document be sabotaged from some quarters, either from Jubilee or from some people in NASA. So for the sake of the nation, and I like one statement about the two of them, that the nation is bigger than the two of them. That is very true. We know we want this nation to be great even for future generations. It starts now. It is utmost good faith. I hope at no one's point will this utmost good faith be abused. But most important, there must be structures. The structures are legal. Some of them may have to be passed by Parliament. And the idea of majority and minority, that's why we vote in the House. So it means now then we formed a unitary government. Whatever has been done is set within the Constitution.
But
if we want a unitary government, let's amend the Constitution and provide so.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Yes, finally.
Hussein, but I must say that we must question the circumstance. You know, in law, man, so we talk about constitutional moments and opportune moments for doing big societal things. What is this motivation that would make a leader serving his last time like Uhuru Kenyatta put his hand on a paper when he's merely playing? What does he need from it? That is the security we have. And what I want to urge Kenyans to do is not to look at how we can, you know, negate or negative the aspirations of these two great leaders, but to partner and support them in the manner they have requested. In fact, this is the time to milk President Uhuru Kenyatta and milk from the leadership well of Raila to the maximum for the good of the country.
All right. Interesting times ahead in the next few days when the structure we expect should be a bit more clearer. But again, we're asking you tonight, what are the implications of the Uhuru-Raila Pact and what does it portend for other key political leaders? Thank you so much to our guests, MPs Peter Kaluma, Homa Bay Town, and Makueni MP Dan Manzo. Thank you so much for making time for us tonight. Keep talking to us. Text us 22422. Use the hashtag Sunday Live on Twitter. We're back with sports after this break.